Hey guys, Jordy from Seven Eagle Group. I am extremely excited today to have with us Jon Macaskill from Colorado Springs, retired U.S. Navy SEAL for 24 years, and right now he's the Deputy Executive Director at Veterans Path organization, and just an amazing nonprofit group that empowers veterans with proven practical meditation and mindfulness techniques to just help them get through tough times. Jon, thank you so much. You have built an incredible organization. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today and to be able to learn a little bit more about your organization and the great work that you're doing. And hopefully we can share that with our audience here at Seven Eagle.
Yeah, well, Jordy, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you for excusing my current background in that I'm in my second office, the car. I just recently moved to Colorado Springs. My wife and two kids and myself are living in an RV waiting for our house to close. So this is literally my workspace for a lot of the day.
Hey, it works.
So,
it serves a purpose. That's awesome. Do you mind just giving everyone just a quick bio of your
Sure.
time in service? I know you
Sure.
had a distinguished career, and if you just mind sharing that with everyone.
Well, yeah, thanks for that, Jordy. I enlisted in the Navy in 1996, right out of high school. Got picked up for the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis about a year later. Went there in the class of 2001. Graduated in May 2001 with a degree in mathematics, and went out to SEAL training in Coronado, California. Did that SEAL training. Was officially pinned a SEAL in 2003. So essentially been a SEAL for 17 of the 24 years that I was in. And technically the Navy considers me having done 20 years, but I consider my time at Annapolis as a time in the service.
Absolutely.
So did my time in the SEAL teams, was fortunate enough to get one stint at the Naval Postgraduate School where I got my master's degree in operations research, and then continued with my career in the Navy SEAL teams. Just got out at the beginning of this month in August, retired, and now, as you mentioned, I'm working for Veterans Path as their Deputy Executive Director. Veterans Path, our mission is to impart those skills of mindfulness and meditation to veterans so that they can change and, quite honestly, save their own lives. Because mindfulness and meditation do, in fact, improve your resilience, your ability to communicate with others, your ability to understand what it is you yourself are going through, so that you can address those later. So that's what we do. The organization has been around since 2008. It was founded by two women, Lee Lesser and Chris Fortin, out of Berkeley, California. And they just got a new executive director, Dave Drake, a year ago today. And then they brought myself on in the fall of last year under the DoD Skill Bridge program. So I was able to intern with them as I was starting to get out of the Navy, which was phenomenal learning experience. I learned the nonprofit space. I learned some financial management, a lot of stuff that you don't learn in the military, or at least not to the level that you learn it in the civilian world. Yeah. Great opportunity there. And if your listeners or your readers haven't looked into Skill Bridge, it's a phenomenal program. Mentioned at the beginning, wife and two kids. I've got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, 3-year-old little girl and a 1-year-old little boy. And we've just recently moved to Colorado Springs and hoping to settle here. And this will be the new headquarters of Veterans Path for the foreseeable future. So
that's awesome. How did you know coming out of the military that you wanted to go down this path? How did you
Sure.
choose it?
Yeah, so I actually struggled myself with some post-traumatic stress, some survivor guilt, anxiety, depression, and ended up getting introduced, thankfully, to the skills of mindfulness and meditation. And I feel wholeheartedly that they not only changed my life, but saved my life quite literally. And now I want to pay that forward. And so, luckily enough, when I was starting to think about what I wanted to do after I left the military, I started thinking, well, I'll found a nonprofit that teaches veterans this. And there's actually a few of them, but Veterans Path is the one that resonated. Their mission, their ideals, their values resonated very much with me. And it's like, well, I'll get connected with them. And just as I was going to reach out to them, they somehow found out about me and reached out to me.
Always
And we
aligned.
got,
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. So,
It was meant
and
to be.
uh, funny enough, they were planning on moving their headquarters to Colorado Springs, which is where my wife and I had decided we were going to retire. So all the stars aligned, and
Hey,
just
that's
like, well,
perfect.
it's meant to be. It's meant to be.
That's perfect. Can you talk a little bit about, for people who are new to this, like what is mindfulness? What is meditation? What
Sure.
does that mean to a veteran, and how can that help him or her get through some?
Yeah, absolutely. So mindfulness is nothing more than what we in the military call situational awareness. Basically, just being aware of the present moment and not being so consumed with what's happened in the past or thinking too much about what's going to happen in the future. Planning for the future is one thing, but worrying about the future or ruminating about the past, that's something completely different, and it doesn't really do you a whole lot of good. As a matter of fact, mentally, it really hurts you.
Mhm.
So being focused on the present is where you really start to kind of clear the noise and focus your mind, your spirit, your whole soul on the present moment and de-stress. It's the formal term is called mindfulness based stress reduction, MBSR, is what it's named by Jon Kabat-Zinn. He's kind of the father of mindfulness here in the States, in the Western world. um, but that's really all mindfulness is. And how it helps is that by continually focusing on the present moment, you are enjoying relationships, enjoying communications, enjoying um, experiences that you may be in a lot more. So for example, I went to the zoo yesterday with my kids, and I had my phone with me, but I turned it onto airplane mode so that it wouldn't receive any text or anything. And all it was serving as was a camera, so I could take
Mhm.
pictures.
Right.
And in doing that, I was able to focus on my kids, the
Right.
beauty of this new zoo here in Colorado Springs. It's just unbelievable, and it was just a much more rich experience than if I had my phone on, receiving text, receiving emails, notifications, all this other stuff that bombards us in this day and age. So that helps again to settle the mind and then
Mhm.
enjoy experiences that you live that much more. That's the mindfulness piece. That's all mindfulness is. It's not any kind of flowery sitting down in any type of yoga pants in any type of meditation position. Not that I have anything against that, but that's not what it
Yeah.
is. You can be mindful while you're eating. You can be mindful while you're driving. You can be mindful in having a conversation with another person, and that you're actually paying attention to what's being said instead of trying to formulate an answer as somebody else is speaking. That's all mindfulness is. And then meditation, the other side of it, is where you very intentionally set aside some time to do some form of meditation. And there's many other forms of meditation, but mindfulness based meditation is what I focus on, because that's what I've found I am able to do the most. But really, what that along with meditation and mindfulness together, they can literally rewire your brain so that you're able to respond to stimulus rather than react, because our bodies and our minds have not evolved as quickly as society and the human race have. We are still wired just like our caveman ancestors were, where we have a defense mechanism in the amygdala. That's the part of your brain that's set for fight or flight. That defense mechanism was there to respond to a saber-toothed tiger or whatever threat was around the corner. Whereas now we don't see as many threats, right? We still have threats, but not as many. But what we perceive as threats are quite often just very mundane tasks. Like somebody comes to you with a deadline on some task and you respond, or rather react, with that amygdala, instead of responding with the more rational part of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. Well, mindfulness and meditation actually rewire your brain to respond with that rational part, that prefrontal cortex, rather than your amygdala. So it ultimately helps you to de-stress, and respond better to threats, perceived threats anyway.
Yeah, that's great. It's like a 1-2 punch. I like it.
That's right.
So in our industry, our mission is to help veterans and military spouses connect with employers for jobs. As you know, a lot of people are going through a really tough time right now with COVID.
Sure.
Even prior to COVID, you have a lot of high unemployment rate, a lot of, not just that, but you have a lot of people who are underemployed too. They're working these
Yeah.
crappy jobs. They're not making much money. They're stressed and anxious, and what could some of these veterans or spouses do if they were to get involved with Veterans Path? Like, what does that mean? Are there courses they take? Are there videos they watch? How does that work?
Yeah, both actually. So in the past, we've done face-to-face retreats where the veterans will come in about cohorts of about 24 people, men and women, and then we do have cohorts that are men specific and women specific, but we also have the mixed. And we would teach them what mindfulness meditation is, or are rather, and how to use them in their lives in a typical situation. So if they are in fact confronted with a perceived threat, how to de-stress from that, how to focus on their breath, how to focus on the here and now, and kind of stop thinking about what that threat may mean down the line. As far as online and recordings, we have, with COVID, funny enough, accelerated our plan to put stuff online, and we've partnered with an organization called eMindful, where they host our online content, both recorded content and live virtual content, when we have a mindfulness instructor on the other end of that live. And those mindfulness instructors are veterans, so they know what the veteran has experienced. They know what it is to transition out of the military. They know what it is to have served on the battlefield. They know what it is to come out and be looking for a job. And so a lot of these stressors that aren't necessarily unique to military service members or veterans, but they're just a little different. So transition from one job to another, yeah, that's great. Everybody kind of experiences that. But transition from the military to another job, there's a whole different jargon. The way that the civilian sector talks about things, the way that they act. I mean, you can't, you're not going in there in a uniform. You have to know what to wear. So there's certain little things that you don't even think about every day in the military that now have become stressors.
Right.
So we do have both in-person stuff that we've actually put on hold during this COVID pandemic, and we do have online recordings through eMindful.
That's great. That's good. And are there, what should the veteran do? Do they go sign up at your site? Are there fees
Sure.
for some of the courses, or how does that work?
There's no fees to the veterans. It's a 501c3, completely free to the veterans. We get our money through fundraising and donations. If anyone is so inclined to donate, we do have a donate button on our website, and that website is veteranspath.org. That's where you can go to find out more information. As far as our online stuff that we do with eMindful, we are actually working on updating our website, and we should have an updated website by the end of next week. That will have a lot more information on the online platforms. But you can check out eMindful and specifically look for the Veterans Path program on eMindful.
That's awesome. Yeah, please, anyone who is listening, check out Veterans Path. They do some incredible work. It won't cost you anything. And like Jon mentioned, if you do have the ability to donate, please help out this great organization. We need these guys helping our military community. One other quick thing I'd love to get your opinion on, because a lot of times I give this advice to veterans. I don't know if it's good or not. but when they're going through a tough time, I always say to them, um, try to exercise once a day, get a sweat going, and go like be of service to someone. Go volunteer somewhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel, I don't know. It always helped me that it makes me feel better when I go volunteer. Is that good advice I'm giving them? Or
Oh yeah, I think that's great advice. I mean, that's what a lot of transitioning service members and new veterans struggle with, is that they've been in a service role the whole time that they've been in the military, whether that's 4 years or 30 years, they've been serving. And now they go out into the civilian sector, and now they are looking for a mission, looking for a purpose. And volunteering is another way to serve others. Honestly, that's one of the big reasons I got involved in the nonprofit space, was I felt that, you know, serving other veterans was what I needed to do.
yeah,
It just so happens that I do it for a job, but I also volunteer on another nonprofit board. Nonprofit is called Trails of Purpose,
nice.
and that one does equine therapy in the Virginia Beach area, back in Virginia, for veterans. And then, you know, volunteering with the community. You know, I just recently moved to Colorado Springs, and I'm looking for those opportunities to volunteer. But they're there. You just have to
Yeah,
look, and I think that's a huge thing. And then going back to the getting out and getting a sweat,
yeah,
absolutely, you got to get
yeah,
your mind and body right.
yeah.
So that helps for
That's
sure.
good. Hey, John, I can't thank you enough, man. This was awesome. I really hope we can even just reach one person with some of this great advice you gave, and the work that you and your team are doing at Veterans Path is amazing. And I thank you
Thanks, Jordy.
for everything. And I hope we can stay in touch and continue to
Absolutely.
send people your way and help your organization achieve its mission.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, Jordy. I appreciate it, and thanks for sharing what it is we do. And if you ever have any questions about Veterans Path, please feel free to reach out. Jon, just Jon at veteranspath.org, and that's all I got.
Perfect.
Thanks,
All
Jordy.
right.